It's a chilly Thursday here in Seoul. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Jae-in. Coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. All eyes are on today's summit meeting between President Moon Jae-in and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, and whether the summit will help to normalize the sour ties over the THAAD controversy. As widely expected, the U.S. Fed raises its key rate for the third time this year, and we take a look at what impact this may have on markets here in Korea and across the globe. These stories and more coming right up. Today is the second day of President Moon's state visit to China. And according to the Blue House, Moon attended the opening ceremony of the Korea-China Economic and Trade Partnership and will soon hold the long-awaited summit with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. We now connect to our Blue House correspondent Hwang Ho-jun for more. Ho-jun.
Hello, Jae-in. Today is one of the most significant days of the president's four-day state visit, especially when you take into consideration that the trip is coming after a long diplomatic row over Seoul's deployment of the THAAD system and Beijing's subsequent retaliations. As you said, President Moon Jae-in attended the opening ceremony of the Korea-China Economic Trade Partnership Fair earlier today when he called for efforts to form a, quote, true partnership between Seoul and Beijing. Nearly 700 business leaders from both Korea and China were in attendance. The president said a long, taxing journey can be relieved when accompanied by a friend, and also quoted a Chinese proverb that one must become friends before doing business with another. In other words, stressing the need for the restoration of economic cooperation between the two countries. It was just about a month and a half ago when Korea and China reached an agreement to set aside their differences despite lingering issues to be resolved. Now, in less than 2 hours, President Moon and Xi will hold their third bilateral summit. The first two were on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Hamburg, Germany, and the APEC summit in Da Nang, Vietnam. The two leaders are expected to discuss ways to peacefully resolve the North Korean nuclear issue. Moon's trip to China comes 2 weeks after Pyongyang launched what it claims to be an intercontinental ballistic missile on November 29th, resuming its missile provocations after a 75-day hiatus. They will also likely exchange views on economic cooperation between the two countries, including ways to link Seoul's new northern and new southern policies to Beijing's One Belt, One Road initiative. However, Blue House officials have previously said that the two leaders will not issue a joint statement on the outcome of their summit meeting, indicating the air between Seoul and Beijing is yet to be cleared. Following the summit, the two heads of state will sign key agreements and MOUs before the Chinese president hosts a state dinner in honor of his South Korean guest. This has been Hwang Ho-jun for Business Daily.
The Asian Development Bank has raised Korea's growth forecast for next year to 3%, up 0.2 percentage points from its previous projection in September. In its December Asian Development Outlook supplement, the ADB said improved diplomatic relations with China will further drive exports and revive tourism in the coming months. For 2017, the ADB forecast 3.1% growth, up from the previous 2.8%, as exports rose 17% on year from January to October, reversing a near 8% decline in 2016. Maintaining China's growth forecast at 6.4% for next year, the bank raised the outlook for ASEAN member nations to 5.2%. It cited a stronger than expected recovery in exports and robust domestic demand in Asia's developing economies. The U.S. Federal Reserve raised its key interest rate by 0.25% in a further step to reverse its easing policies put in place after the global financial crisis. It said the country has been posting solid economic growth while its labor market is continuing to strengthen. Our Lee Joo-young reports.
In a widely expected move, the U.S. Federal Reserve has hiked its key rate by 0.25 percentage point to 1.5%, the third rise this year. Wrapping up their two-day meeting in Washington on Wednesday, Fed policymakers cited the strong U.S. jobs market and a sharp pickup in household and business spending for its decision, despite inflation remaining below its 2% target.
The U.S. economy is performing well. The growth that we're seeing, it's not based on, for example, an unsustainable buildup of debt as we had in the run-up to the financial crisis. I think the risks are balanced, and there's less to lose sleep about now than has been true for quite some time.
Sticking to its previous forecast, the Fed also said it still expects to raise rates 3 more times in 2018. The majority of policymakers also agree that U.S. rates will likely top 2% within the next 12 months. In addition, the central bankers upgraded their economic growth forecast for this year and the next to 2.5%. The 2018 projection far exceeds the Fed's previous estimate of 2.1% published just 3 months ago. President Trump, who is close to pushing through his $1.5 trillion tax package, says it will be paid for by economic growth of around 4%, a forecast Fed Chair Janet Yellen said would be challenging. The rate hike is Yellen's final major action as Fed Chair, as she will be replaced by Jerome Powell in February. The Fed's rate increase means U.S. rates are now level with the benchmark rate in South Korea. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
Then how would the U.S. Fed's decision affect the Korean economy? The Bank of Korea says it expected the Fed's rate hike and therefore raised Korea's own interest rate last month. Our Kim Ji-yeon tells us more.
Authorities at the Bank of Korea say there were no immediate signs of capital flight from the country since the move by the U.S. Federal Reserve has been widely expected. The BOK also pointed to Korea's strong fundamentals, with the economy forecast to grow 3% this year on booming exports. But it says further tapering of U.S. assets could impact Korea's interest rates in the long term. To counter such risks, the BOK has already raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.25% to 1.5% last month, its first rate hike in nearly 7 years. Although the move has been expected, it has raised concerns that the rate hike would increase the burden of the $1.3 trillion household debt, since it would severely affect homeowners' ability to repay their debts and raise the risk of people defaulting on their housing loans. The BOK played down the possibility of the worsening household debt issue, saying the government is laying out countermeasures. This refers to a series of measures earlier this year to curb housing speculation by making it harder for people with multiple houses to borrow money to buy real estate.
We believe the burden on households of repaying extra interest due to a rate hike is limited in general when taking into account the debt service ratio.
While the BOK dismissed the possibility that a rate gap is the sole reason for capital flight, it says such a decision will be made only after taking into account various factors, including the recovery pace of the local economy, inflation prices, financial stability, and risks, shaking off market expectations that it'll raise rates in February or in July next year, when the new BOK governor is announced.
Since it raised the main interest rate in November, it won't be easy for the BOK to raise rates again during the first half of next year. It'll only do that when it's confident the local economy can withstand the effects of a rate hike.
BOK Governor Lee Ju-yeol said he does not interpret the move by the Fed as a sign of preferring aggressive fiscal measures, despite the Fed's decision to raise its growth trajectory for the U.S. economy. It has previously projected the Fed would raise rates up to 3 times next year. Kim Ji-yeon, Business Daily.
In its final meeting of 2017, the U.S. Federal Reserve raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.25%, while President Moon Jae-in is expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping in the coming hours. So to tell us more about the impact that the Fed's rate hike may have on the global economy, as well as what we can expect from the Korea-China summit, Professor Kim Se-won from Ewha Women's University joins us in the studio today. Hello, Professor.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so the U.S. Fed raised rates as widely expected. Tell us more about this decision.
U.S. Fed interest rate hikes by 0.25% is almost 100% expected by the market. Actually, from early summer of this year, all Federal Open Market Committee members, including Chairwoman Yellen and next Chairman nominee Powell, all hinted very seriously that there will be interest hike in December. And the reason why U.S. Fed is increasing interest rate is because U.S. economy is picking up very quickly with over 3% economic growth and expanding employment of the nation.
All right. Well, of course, now this Fed's rate hike will undoubtedly have an impact on global markets and their monetary policies. But how will it affect the Bank of Korea's policy direction from here on out?
The big question of the global financial market today is how many times U.S. Fed will increase interest rate next year.
Right.
And U.S. Fed strongly signaled that they will stay on the same path as this year. That means they will increase interest rate up to 3 times in the next year. So given that expectation, and given also another assumption that Korean economy is growing over 3%, I believe that Bank of Korea will take a slower path than that of the U.S. Federal Reserve. That means they will increase interest rate up to 1 or 2 times at most in the next year.
Okay. Now, shifting our focus a little bit, markets have been focusing on the Korea-China summit and the results of the meeting. So what are some of the major issues that will be discussed during this meeting?
It looks that in President's visit to China, to me, the top priority goes to lessening the sanction from Chinese governments to Korean corporations and Korean economy as a whole. In President Moon's meeting with President Xi 2 months ago in Vietnam, President Moon's explanation on THAAD deployment in Korean territory was not fully accepted by Chinese leaders. So I believe that President Moon will try his best again to persuade that it is necessary to deploy a THAAD system in Korean territory and at the same time for clearing out the sanctions on Korean corporations.
I mean, we did see a partial lifting of the ban on tourism to Korea, right?
Exactly.
After the meeting in October. So can we expect better things this
exactly.
time around?
Even though they partially accepted President Moon's explanation on THAAD-related issues, they do not actually agree 100% of our position. Therefore, this time is a good chance to clear out all the sanctions related to THAAD deployment.
Now, there has been a big business delegation that has been accompanying President Moon to his China state visits. So what economic opportunities and benefits will this summit bring to both sides, China and Korea?
President Moon is visiting China with about 260 Korean business leaders, which is the largest size in history. And at the same time, President Moon is visiting Hyundai Motors plants in Chongqing, located deep inside the Chinese continent. I think that means something to Chinese governments because one of the most urgent needs of the Chinese government is developing underdeveloped regions like Chongqing and Xi'an. So that gives that huge investment by Korean corporations in Chongqing and Xi'an really makes Chinese government happy. So in response, we can expect that 100% and overall clearing out of the sanctions on Korean corporations and economy.
Now, there has been also news of two sides possibly announcing the start of negotiations on the Korea-China FTA. So will Korean businesses be able to make their way into the Chinese market?
Yes, recently actually foreign investors' direct investment to China is decreasing very quickly for the first time in history. So for example, in the first half of this year, foreign direct investment to China is decreasing over 5%. And most of the decrease came from the most developed countries like US, UK, Germany, and Korea. So I believe that Chinese government believes that President Moon's visit to China is a great chance to induce more direct investment from Korea. And at the same time, it is known that Chinese corporations want more cooperation with Korean economy in the businesses of entertainment and high-tech ship designing and financial services like auto insurance. So Korean corporations will have a more extended chance of the businesses in these industries.
Well, for now, we'll keep our eyes on the summit and what comes out of it. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
The combined value of cryptocurrencies has exceeded $500 billion for the first time. According to price tracker CoinMarketCap, the combined market value of virtual money hit an all-time high of $506 billion as of Wednesday morning on the U.S. East Coast. This on the back of unprecedented demand for digital currencies overall, with Ethereum and Litecoin in particular hitting fresh highs on Wednesday. The market cap of cryptocurrencies has now surpassed the value of a billionaire Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway at around $491 billion. Their value was also higher than that of U.S. banks, Citigroup and Wells Fargo combined. Commodity traders familiar with volatility swings have been jumping into the cryptocurrency fray in search of profits, according to the Wall Street Journal. The software industry is expected to play an important role in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So the Korean government plans to promote the sector while also tackling the gambling industry, which has been growing at a rather alarming rate. Our Ji Myung-gil has more.
Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun on Thursday said it was necessary to provide the right job training and education to foster job creation in the software sector.
It is important for the government to create an environment for the younger generation where they can experiment using their imagination and creativity, which is key to the success of the software industry.
He also said jobs like industrial software programmers, games programmers, and data analysis will serve as new career opportunities for younger people. According to Korea's Software Policy and Research Institute, the country's software industry reached nearly $4 billion this year and is growing by $100 million every year. Therefore, the government also plans to construct models to predict how the fourth industrial revolution would affect software jobs in the future. Prime Minister Lee also noted the alarming growth rate of gambling and other adult entertainment businesses.
Korea's gambling industry is showing signs of overheating. The industry is expanding 6.3% every year.
He said it was important to eradicate corruption, especially in sports gambling, referring to match-fixing scandals which have struck professional sports players in recent years, and called for greater attention from law enforcement authorities.
According to the Prime Minister's office, Korea's gambling and lottery industry has grown by more than $18 billion for 2 consecutive years, with gambling addiction reaching over 5%, which is over 2 times higher than the OECD average of around 2%.
Therefore, the government plans to strengthen monitoring of casinos, horse racing, traditional bullfighting, and lotteries and promote socially responsible practices. Ji Myung-gil, Business Daily.
Korea's 3 telecommunication giants are looking to the sky to the possibilities of drone technology. They're investing in unmanned aerial vehicles that can transmit real-time image data from a bird's-eye view, offering an edge to disaster relief workers. Here's our Eunice Kim with more.
From the control center, a certain area is designated on the screens. On standby, a drone takes off and heads to that location. As it does, it transmits real-time video of external conditions back to the control center. Utilizing a 4th-generation broadband cellular network, it's LG U+'s first smart control system within a drone to be commercialized. It's able to secure the so-called golden time vital for disaster relief workers as it accesses terrain that's otherwise out of reach.
The smart drone control systems provides the special advantage of visibility in remote areas.
And over the sea, a blimp equipped with a 360-degree high-definition camera flies at up to 70 kilometers per hour. Called the Skyship, KT's unmanned aerial vehicle can fly further than a drone to monitor and support marine activity. It can even double up as a moving LTE base station, providing internet service in disaster zones up to 200 kilometers from land.
We are proposing a new direction for maritime safety by developing differentiated solutions and platforms that can offer practical services for small and medium-sized vessels.
And finally, SK Telecom supplies surveillance footage to major local governments via its drones, specifically in mountainous areas. The global drone market is forecast to expand by some $31 billion within the next 6 years, at a compound annual rate of 18% to nearly $49 billion. A big reason why major players in the domestic mobile communications industry are utilizing their strong communication network technology to leapfrog into the drone market. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
It's been 14 years since Korea's free economic zones were created with the aim of attracting foreign investments. So, how successful have they been in achieving a balanced economic development? And what tasks remain ahead as we move forward? Let's take a closer look.
Incheon's Songdo district, Cheongna City, and Yeongjong Island lie across 120 square kilometers of land and is home to 270,000 residents. These areas are the driving force of Korea's economic development. Incheon's Future City initiative has earned praise from global media such as CNN. In 2003, prior to the development, the area was more of a mudflat. Now it's become an international business city with a free economic zone. Thanks to the latest IT technology integration, Incheon has become a smart city that provides real-time city information around the clock. A total of 13 international organizations like the World Bank and 75 other global companies are all located in the Incheon Free Economic Zone. With internationally renowned colleges like NYU and the Netherlands Kent State University also opening their campuses here, Incheon is an international business city with a great geographical advantage and environmental infrastructure.
We are creating a residential-friendly environment for foreigners, providing outstanding government services, and striving to become a mecca of education.
In an effort to actively attract foreign investments, the Free Economic Zone offers regulatory exemptions and an improved business environment. Beginning with the establishment of the Incheon Free Economic Zone in 2003, there are currently 8 free economic zones nationwide, including Busan, Jinhae, and the East Coast. Each region specializes in a particular sector, like new materials or the knowledge industry. The Free Economic Zone is being seen as a springboard for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Take a look at the case of Chungcheongbuk-do Province. The region was known to be a typical rural area, but since a Free Economic Zone was created in 2013, Chungcheongbuk-do Province is now growing as a new biohealth cluster. The Chungbuk Free Economic Zone is a biohub for 60 companies, as well as government agencies like Korea Food and Drug Administration. Within the Free Economic Zone, businesses are exempt from corporate and income taxes, as well as benefiting from eased regulations.
We support a variety of incentive policies and ease regulations. It allows a quicker process in commercializing high-tech medical devices.
Korea's free economic zones played to their geographical advantages since the country is located adjacent to China and Japan and surrounded by oceans. These are some positive factors for global investors targeting the Asian market. In particular, foreign direct investment within the free economic zone showed rapid growth every year. By the first half of 2017, total accumulated investments reached $15 billion, with 2,235 internationally renowned companies in residence. But compared to countries like Hong Kong and Singapore, Korea still has a long way to go in providing support and benefits, while some areas lag behind others in development.
The government is pushing ahead with free economic zones in hopes of balanced economic development.
However, there are many areas that still need work. The country needs to make an exception for fostering industries, but that's not our case. Taxation policies and infrastructure are important, but what's even more crucial is an environment where companies can have the freedom to conduct business without regulatory constraints.
A job fair was held last month at the Busan Jinhae Free Economic Zone. Organizers actively promoted foreign companies and offered recruitment opportunities for job candidates.
Our main vision is to become Korea's logistics industry hub, so we do have frequent exchanges between people as well as commodities and information on other firms.
We guarantee active support in areas like systems improvement and financial aid.
About 15 foreign companies from the US, Germany, and Japan took part in this job fair. Foreign companies are expected to boost the local economy by offering job opportunities for local candidates.
Our free economic zone is putting utmost effort in attracting foreign investment through the creation of a good residential environment and overseas IR. We will continue to provide administrative support and offer flexible business environments for foreign companies.
Korea's free economic zones are becoming the future economic growth for the country. Each region is putting in effort to become an international business hub with active support and deregulation from the government.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.